Welcome back, everybody, to the Arcane Games and Events June Open. It is Mist Veil Limited. Sam O'Byrne with the swinger of hammers himself, Michael Murray. Is that moniker even correct anymore, my friend? You're more of a blazing of aether, if I've ever
Yeah,
seen you.
that's true. I did just show up with Kano.
Yeah.
It's new, well, not new. I've been on Kano a lot in the past, but last week I showed up with Kano and I learned how difficult Kindle is to use. Did not do very well.
Yeah.
Hard card, difficult, lots of lines. Missed a lot of them, I'm sure.
Well, luckily for you and luckily for our players out there are no blazing aethers or aether wildfires to be found at these tables. It's all Mist Veil Limited today. 48 players came through to the Open to throw down and compete with some of the best in SoCal and the surrounding regions in part the Mist Veil Limited, and we are down to our final game of Swiss here. We have got Chris Iaali, who we featured all throughout Pod 1. He is in a win and in here at X&1, and we also have France Tan, I believe, also at X&1. 2-4-1 players here out of our top pod, and they are desperately trying to punch their ticket into the top 8 here and have one more draft to take home the potential gold and glory. It's going to be a Zen. It's going to be a new. I can't wait. So, talk to me about the matchup, Michael. We got New versus Zen. This is theoretically where Zen where New kind of flourishes. A lot of those stealth cards are going to have very relevant on-hit effects. The life gain could be important. What kind of disruption is France going to be able to string together? And is Chris just going to be able to go fast enough to allow his ninja ways to overwhelm the assassin?
Yeah, we saw France play earlier today against Fuzzy Delp. He narrowly lost that game, but looks like he was able to scrape back some wins here, and now they're both facing each other at 4-1. So we'll have to see which Zen deck is more powerful between Fuzzy and Chris here. Hopefully for France, the answer is not Chris.
Now, for France, looks like 4 pieces of the cloaked equipment. That's got to feel good in the new slot. Even if you're the one of 3, to be able to get all that cloaked equipment means you have a lot of optionality and potentially a fair amount of defense. Only 3 pieces of equipment for Zen and no Stride of Reprisal for Chris. Just going to go ahead and have to make it work with the Mask of Wizened Whiskers as well as the other 2 pieces of cloaked equipment.
Oh, you're going first in 1 second. Good luck, have fun.
All right, here we go. The players have extended the the critical good lucks and the have funs. The final round of Swiss is gearing up and getting underway, folks.
Looks like France won that die roll, so Chris will be going first at France's decision.
Start things off here with a Nimbleism, headed straight to the combat chain into the Tiger Taming Kakara. 2 damage, go again. We've seen a lot of this today, and there will be more during the remaining games, I guarantee you. That's going to go ahead and buy a block from France, and now it's time for a Harmony of the Hunt. This is getting the bonus from the Nimbleism, so this is coming for 6. 1 more damage will be following, at least in the form of the Crouching Tiger, unless that's the card that Chris wants to arsenal.
Something I've noticed about this format is that a lot of players are kind of swinging everything they've got on turn 1, which is interesting. I think it must have to do with the number of no blocks. Also, in this case, getting that Nimbleism into the graveyard is a very good play to get off so that you've got your Nimble Strikes online for future turns.
And look, Franche is going to go ahead and pitch into the Aqua Seeing Shell right here on turn 0. Try to get another blocking card into the hand, pitching away that homage to Ancestors. But at the start of France's turn, that Aqua Seeing Shell is going to destroy. So look, on the turn 0, like you said, Chris Iaali able to buy some critical equipment out of his new opponent. All 6 damage is going to go ahead and be shored up with the help of the Seeing Shell. Now 1 damage coming across. Let's see, is France going to go ahead and commit any blocks? The answer is no. So 1 damage connects for Chris before passing to the end step here, the end phase. Arsenal is acquired for Chris. Going to have a 5-card hand to start things off. But of course, France has drawn 3 more cards.
Yeah, pretty good turn 1, all things considered, from Chris. Getting some equipment, getting some damage in, and getting that Nimbleism into the graveyard.
Let's have to see if there are any Nimble Strikes to go along with that Nimbleism that Chris was able to plop into the graveyard. See 1 in France's hand. But having the Nimble Strike show up before the Nimbleisms is not where you want to be, so he's just going to go ahead and pitch. It looks like it's a yellow into the Beckoning Mistblade. 1, go again if it hits. The next blue attack getting +1, and go again.
Yeah. He does have a blue in hand to utilize that if he so chooses. Chris deliberating on whether or not he wants to allow that to happen. It's always hard to tell whether they're going to get value out of this misplay or not. Sometimes it's just 1 damage. Other times it's a huge turn extension. And in this case, we've got the Bonds of Agony coming out for 2. Go again now because of that misplayed.
Bonds of Attraction here, I believe. Going to go ahead and going to buy a block. Tiger Form Incantation. Going to go ahead and block that. So that will be banished thanks to news giving of that card the ability to banish whatever is on the chain link. And now it's time for a Desires of Flesh. This is coming across for 3. No go again. Card still in the arsenal. That's going to go ahead and banish the top card if it hit, and if it banishes any attack action card from the top of the deck or on the combat chain, you can go ahead and gain France a life. So this is where people like to say, or people often think, New gets some of the edges in this matchup, being able to find lots of juicy targets for those stealth banishes.
High likelihood of hitting, but yes, this is not an attack. The Blessing of Ki here, blocking for 3 non-attack action, gets banished and does not trigger the life gain.
So now only 2 cards left for Chris to work with. He blocked with 2 cards, only went down to 19. Must have not loved the rest of the cards in the hand, and this is just going to be the Tiger Taming Kakara coming in for 2. 1 floating, looks like it might be a Harmony of the Hunt afterwards, so this is going to probably be 2 into 3 into 1. A little bit annoying for France to have to deal with, but not the most powerful turn. Enough disruption, enough threat of those banishes for Chris that he didn't want to try to keep and resolve anything else. So it's going to be now 3 damage coming across with the go again. Make the Crouching Tiger thanks to pitching the blue, and the Crouching Tiger, of course, will get that +1 thanks to the Tiara. Yep. France down to 17.
Looks like a nice clean 2-card 6 here with some weird block points, so Franche just
interesting.
Scratch that.
Yeah, here's a Biting Breeze coming across. Now this is an interesting decision here for France. If he lets this hit, then the Crouching Tiger that is played on the turn will just come from the banished zone, and Chris is able to keep a Crouching Tiger for the arsenal. This might finally cause France to go ahead and try to throw a blocking card down. He's down to 14 after the damage from the Harmony of the Hunt. Yep, the Chakra there is going to go ahead and get the block, so 1 damage comes across. France down to 13 after all is said and done, but keeping 3 cards and Mr. Iaali off an arsenal.
It was a subtle decision, but I really like that from Chris, getting the extra Tiger, basically saying, like, I get to arsenal something if you don't block this, forcing the block out of France.
And seeing that France had really just gone ahead and not done any blocking at all. Saying, all right, you're clearly trying to keep some kind of a turn, so let me go ahead and give you a little bit of pressure. And it is going to be a first Tenet of Chi win into the title surge.
Yeah.
So
big damage. 7 off of blue is huge.
And go again, thanks to the Tenet of Chi win. The question is, will that go again be relevant? Is there a 0 cost in the arsenal? That's just going to buy a 3 block, another Blessing of Chi, going to go ahead. 4 damage coming across, and there is a beautiful Mind's Desire in the arsenal. So that go again, nicely utilized. 10 damage total on the turn and threatening a banish.
This is the non-attack one, so much less likely to hit, but it does.
But it does.
Wow.
So 1 life gain. France back up to 14 to Chris Iaali's 12. Chris Iaali, has a penchant, as we've seen throughout today, for drafting a lot of the non-attack actions in the Zen deck. The Tiger Form Incantations, the chief culprit. And the blue one there off the top, not only is that a life gain for France, but that's also a blue to potentially feed New. 2 damage, though. Starting Chris's turn. Tiger Taming Kakara, no blocks. 12 all, folks. This one's going fast. Another Nimblism and the Gravekeeping. Look at this.
Ooh,
it's going to be
big.
Yeah, 8 damage, and we're going to banish a card from the graveyard, mostly relevant for things like Preserve Tradition and similar effects. But 8 damage is nothing to scoff at. That'd bring France all the way down to 4 if left unchecked.
Just goes ahead and picks the strongest attack he sees.
I like Gravekeeping in this format.
I mean, 1 for 5.
Yeah, right? It just I think it does so much work. We're going to go ahead and put the Arousing Wave in front, and that's going to be it for France. He's taken 7, going down to 5 here. But once again, Chris Iaali is off an arsenal. Hasn't been able to develop one in the last 2 turns. So France here looks like he might be trying to put some real hurt on.
France played quite aggressively in his game earlier, and it looks like he's just doing it again. He's got the double trouble here, along with some reactions in his hand. This is a lot of damage.
Just 2 Venomous Bites?
Yeah, 2. And I think they might both be red as well.
So 2 Venomous Bites represents...
Ooh, that's a lot of damage. 5, 9.
Oh, and Double Trouble gets +2, right?
This is, if Chris decides no blocks, this is going to
just straight game. Yeah, and so that's the thing, is he's looking at France saying, like, listen, wow, you took all that damage. All you did was block with your equipment pieces. And, the equipment piece, the Arousing Wave, would allow, if it is a blue in the hand for both of those Venomous Bites, there's the final resource. You can pitch in and add an additional 1. So, yeah. So +4 for each Venomous Bite thanks to the Fang Strike and the +3, and then +1. So that's +9 on a double trouble, and then I believe, does double trouble get the +2?
It's +2, yeah, if he
if you've
plays
done
2
2 or more reactions. So
yeah.
that there's a potential here for, let's see, 2 from the double trouble,
Yeah.
1 from the arousing wave. So
Yeah.
that's 3 plus 8 is 11, and the card is coming in for 3.
Yeah.
So that's 14 damage
Yeah.
on this attack.
This is a lot of hidden damage.
Chris has to block with at least a 3 block to stay alive if everything is thrown down here.
Yeah,
So
I
let's
mean,
see if he can sniff it out.
He may have some Kikoi's cloaked down there, but you can see he's not willing to risk too much of his life here, as he's got 2 cards blocking in front of this, which is
Pouncing Chi, and it might be a Tooth and Claw. That's,
what
yeah.
that is. Wow, that's a
Nice little pickup there, kind of like the Swarming Gloom Veil for the Mystics. Oh, looks like just a yellow here, picked to pieces, so not able.
Okay.
Gonna go ahead and keep one
Right.
of those reactions
That
for
makes
the arsenal
sense. Yeah,
here.
no blue to power on those venomous bites, so not as threatening of a turn as we had thought. Still quite a lot of damage. Chris going down to 9, and using 2 cards on defense means his offensive turn this time around will be much weaker.
But France, again, a lot of we saw it earlier today on stream as well. Sometimes these new players, they take a lot of damage and head down to 5 or less in order to keep a hand that is explosive and could potentially win the game. But if their opponent does respect it and stay at a high enough life total, now all of a sudden the new player is sitting at 5. Even though this is only a 2-card hand, it might be enough to force some blocks. It's going to be a perfect Battlefront Bastion here. 1 damage prevention floating, turning that 4 attack into basically just an attack for 3. So France here, though, even though this, there's a damage prevention floating and there is no, lethal threatened on this turn, the fact that he took all that damage to set up those 2 venomous bites, if he's not able to kill Chris with the one that's in his arsenal, might come back to haunt him.
3 cards, hoping at least one of them is a blue for the reaction to be threatening.
So all the damage was blocked there. It's going to be a Beckoning Mistblade now, coming out 1 floating, which means the venomous bite in the arsenal is still feeling nice and good. 1 card left in hand here for France.
Looked like maybe a Mind's Desire. I couldn't quite make it out.
Chris here got a nice big old Blanche. Another Nimblism. Wow, 3 Nimblisms in the deck for Chris Iaali. Good card in the Zen deck for sure. A lot of blues have been banished. We saw 2 get banished off the top thanks to the double trouble. But no Transcendence so far for France. One floating, 1 damage on the combat chain with the Beckoning Mistblade. Chris is going to go ahead and flip over the Skyhold Kikoi. That's going to block the damage with its prevention effect. And it is just going to be a blue Art of Desire mine. So the 1 damage there would have been relevant had it not been
and
prevented.
the go again, too, if he was able to draw a card off of this, continue the chain. So really good use of that equipment block there by Chris.
And let's see if Chris wants to put a card that isn't blue in front of this Art of Desire in order to attempt to keep it from gaining a life and drawing a card. But we know that France has that attack reaction nice and
if he is able to draw that, he can refresh the arsenal, which would be a pretty big deal in a spot like this.
Definitely. Utilizing the attack reaction and it's like a ponder stapled onto your card.
Yeah,
I like the blue Art of Desire. Art of Desire mine. I think that card does work.
Yeah.
Even in CC new.
Yeah, I think the reds and the blues see play quite a bit in the CC version of new. Chris just thinking.
No blocks is presented, which means Venomous Bite, 4 more damage is going to be placed upon this. So this is going from an attack for 1 to an attack for 5. Chris is going to head down to 4 here unless he wants to flip over that cloaked chest piece. And it is, of course, the Skybody Kikoi.
Yeah. France is really hoping to see a blue get banished off the top there. That would mean he gets to draw a card and put it into arsenal.
Chris has already banished a lot of blues off the top of the deck, so I wonder how likely it is based on the texture of his deck. No reactions. Take 4. Chris is heading down 5. Heading down 2-4. And it is a blue off the top.
That's big. Very big.
France is going to gain a
So
life.
he gains a life, draws the card. I didn't quite make out what it was.
Yeah, I think it's one of those Mystic Blues, but I couldn't tell.
Okay.
So France now 5-card hand for him as well. Going to be a pitch into the Tiger Taming Kakara.
Yeah, 2 pieces of equipment and a life lead. But Chris with 4 cards to work with. Scary amount of damage possibly being presented here.
Let's see exactly how Chris is able to string together as aggressive a start as possible. Still hasn't been able to do much consistent arsenal, securing. He's been mostly just playing off the top. France is going to go ahead and say no blocks. all of a sudden, no longer sitting at simply 5. That 1 life gained on the last turn can be absolutely relevant. We're going to pitch 2
Ooh.
more reds into a
Wow.
Blanche. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and try to deny the color strips on the top of news cards here. That can be very important for the Mistblades.
Yep.
Be very important for various other effects within the set. And it's also just 7 damage. A 3 block isn't enough. So
Yep.
some of that equipment might have to get in, and we can see at least 1 no block in France's hand.
The on-hit of Blanche is very threatening into new, maybe equally threatening into Enigma, but definitely those Mistblades care a whole lot about what color the cards are. So France having a think about how much of this he wants to cover up. Tough spot to be in, especially looking at his hand. It doesn't look like he wants to block with his 2 attacks, and then the only thing left is a 2 block and a no block.
Taking a look here. France giving that hand a look.
Yep.
See the nimblism, can see, I think, the path well traveled.
Yep.
Mind's desire as well.
One more attack. It could have been intimate, or not intimate inducement. The attack that looks at reactions. Blanking on the name.
Maybe impulsive desire.
That sounds right.
Looks like he might be shoring up at least a 1 card block, and he pulls it back. Let's go ahead and take a read of this
Ooh,
one more
it does
time.
do 7.
Your colors are still relevant.
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
Wonder
so
what
when
his
Blanche
equipment
hits,
is.
such a flavorful card, flavorful name. The art,
I do love the art.
yeah, when it hits, cards lose color as the color drains from the poor victim's face of whatever she's looking at. And that's going to buy 2 cards from France here.
It's 5. See if he can manage the turn without seeing colors on his cards.
Block 5, head down to 2. New is colorblind for the turn.
Yep.
Monochromatic over there for the assassin. Blanche going to sit on the combat chain as a nice helpful reminder from the Zen opponent here. Now France sitting at a half of Mr. Iaali's life total. So because the Blanche is online, we know that this is just pretty much 1 damage.
1, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty low value. At these life totals, 1 is still 25% of his remaining life. So it's not nothing.
Looks like Chris does have a Battlefront Bastion in the hand. I wonder what color it is. If it's red, it could be a nice, similar attack to his last. Looks like he might be shoring it up here as just a simple 1 card block in order to also get the damage prevention floating, as you have to imagine there's going to be something following the turn. Card in arsenal, card in hand here for France.
Yeah, I almost wonder if I prefer the mask in that position. Still losing 1 value if he does decide to throw it. Not a bad option, seeing as some of the block will carry on to the next attack, but
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris just deciding to take a look at the graveyard here.
He seems satisfied with what he sees, or
Yeah.
I'm trying to read the facial expression there. Nonplussed.
Not sure what he's looking for exactly.
Saying no blocks, though. Going down 2-3. It's going to follow that up. Desires of Flesh. This is looking for attack actions. 1 floating. We've already seen 2 venomous bites coming out from France here, so that's something Chris is going to have to think about.
It's important to note that if he does have a venomous bite, it will not turn on because it cannot see the blue in the pitch zone.
But it will still be coming in for that +3. That means 1-3 block. If that is one of those flip and prevent pieces in the chest slot there for Chris, that could be huge to play around that +3. Looks like he's just going to give a 3 block. It is going to be an attack, which means that France is going to go ahead
Wow.
and draw, not draw a card, but
That
gain a
was-
life.
That was risky. He could have died there if that was a red hiss or a red venomous bite in his arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, potentially the prevention from the thing might have been able to
True.
keep him
Yeah.
alive, but...
So he probably has a hedge in the chess piece.
All right, let's see. He's got that Battlefront Bastion. It's a blue, so it's going to head to the pitch zone here.
Yeah.
2 damage from the Kakara. But now, because of that 1 life gain, France doesn't necessarily have to think as hard
Yeah.
about this. He's going to just say no blocks and head down to 2. Or just
Wow.
take 2 and go to 1. That life gain proving hugely relevant. Flex Claws here going to be 3, continuing the chain.
Much more valuable to stop 3 with 1 card than 2. And another 3. So very clean blocking here.
France down to 1, but we've seen him
That
already
1
gain.
life gain was
Yeah.
huge, being able to avoid giving a card to the Kakara.
And has already been able to gain 2 life this turn, this
Yeah.
game, and is potentially threatening to gain another. This is where we start to see some of the edge in this new deck.
Yeah.
Another Desires of Flesh on the field. Chris is going to have to think about blocking. But if he gives an attack action card, France
This
goes
time
from...
he could have the 4. No Blanche online this turn. And it's interesting, no dagger either starting this out, so he's threatening something.
First tenanted chi in the hand. I think Moon for Chris here. Looks like he might be putting a tie chakra in front of this because that is a 3-block that won't turn on the Desires of Flesh. Sorry, Wind Chakra, excuse me. Yep, Wind Chakra here is going to be the play, and an Intimate Inducement is going to go ahead and give it the +1. Now Franche is able to look at the top 4 cards, grab one, put it onto the combat chain, and if it's blue, it has 0 defense. He's just basically taking a blue out that's going to get banished.
Really
and if it's an
valuing
attack,
the
Franche is going to gain a life.
healing, exactly.
I know.
Doesn't quite get him out of Kakara range this time around, but it does get him out of Tiger range if that is something that Chris could have threatened.
Yeah.
But look at this, just to shore over the 1 point of damage, that is going to buy the Skyhold Kikoi, so no damage gets across, but France
oh, wait,
is...
they're both actions, right? Yeah. So I'll gain 1 life. Yeah.
France is going to go ahead and just gain the 1 thanks to the Flex Clause on the attack of the Intimate Inducement. First time I've seen that resolved in a minute.
Yeah.
Very cool card. 3 cards for France here after drawing, though. That's something we really do have to pay
2
attention
no
to.
blocks.
Yeah, the Maj from the
1
first
2
turn.
block.
Yeah. 2 block might be able to shore up this Kakara. How much damage is Chris able to throw across here? He's going to buy the 2 block of that Nimble Strike. We saw that pitched a long time ago for France.
He has a healing card in his. Oh, and that's a 1 card 6.
Block 3.
Yeah, and there comes the equipment.
Block 4, block 5. Go down to 1.
This healing has been important.
But now France here goes to 1 and is able to
He's
transcend.
gonna have a big transcend turn here, I think.
Absolutely. And instead of that,
Oh.
at all, he's just going to go ahead and
Well,
come in with the title surge.
Was this, is this the go again one in his hand?
Yeah, I think it is the go again
This
one.
is a big deal right
Yeah,
now.
so title surge comes in
This
for
is a
5,
massive deal right
and
now.
France is going to be able to potentially pump it up by 2, playing the go again transcend
Oh,
card, and then transcend with new and come in with some more damage from Chris's
This
banish
is a
zone.
big turn.
This might be the turn that
This is
decides this game.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see how France navigates it and how Chris decides to navigate it as well. I think he, at the very least, will not get to keep his hand.
You can see France, I think, he played that with a great deal of confidence. I would not be surprised if he was playing towards exactly these 2 cards that are in his hand right now, knowing that if he's able to stay alive and able to keep 2 cards, this is an incredibly strong play. Hasn't transcended at all this game, but this is the perfect time to do so.
And it looks like he could just be throwing 5 damage and then arsenaling. It's not explicitly obvious that he's about to pop off here.
But the thing about Chris Iaali is he absolutely knows France's pitch deck.
Yeah,
he
he's
tracks
really
both players'
good.
pitch deck, so you see him just nodding. And yeah, that's the game. That's
and
he
don't even need to
understands.
do the math.
Yeah, he's just going to go ahead and give it go again, transcend, and all of those cards that are going to be coming in from Chris Iaali's banish zone are going to be enough, and France moves on as your winner here in this game, moving on to X and 1, getting his way into the top 8. Not sure Chris Iaali might still be able to sneak in as
He
an
could
X
be on the
and
bubble
2.
there, or he could make it in.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
great. I still have both Pathful Travels in my deck, and I just need, like, a blue plus that.
Yeah.
And I drew the Pathful Travel, but it was red, red, yellow. And then you attack me with Blanche, it's like, this doesn't do anything.
Here in the play, yeah, he says pitched it the next turn, right? Like Chris is paying attention to France's pitch stack as well as his own. So really well played game by both players there. France kind of feels like took the rug out a little bit from the Worlds runner-up, from that first Worlds back in San Jose. Really played such a clean game. Needed every single inch of those life gained, and then went ahead and took the game with a powerful spillover title surge.
Yeah,
there.
title surge, the
to win
most
game.
powerful version of it, a 3 for 5, coming in for 7 once it gets another blue played on the same chain. And
That game was sick.
That was awesome. He won it with a pitch stack.
Yeah.
He planned it all out.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris knew that he planned it all out, but he couldn't stop it.
Yeah,
He couldn't do anything about it.
That was just honestly very fun to watch.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed.
Well played.
Well played by both parties. Heavy Hitters Limited and Mistveil Limited, man. The team over there at LSS have really created not only something that's so fun for players, but really fun for viewers and for coverage. I mean, just the games are dynamic. The games are interesting, especially in this format. The games are 30 card minimum, right? So it's like or maximum.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily as much of
No fatigue yet today, but we see decks getting thin. There's a very fine tightrope that everybody's walking to sort of like either get there through damage or get there through, value, just get through their deck so their threats are gone. But yeah, we've seen a lot of very close games today.
It's going to be exciting to go ahead and dive into our top 8 draft because we've been drafting all day. Why not draft a little more and we get to play with our toys again? The arcade game to get real-time
final
graphic
8.
engine. Yes,
Yeah.
that will be coming up shortly. We're going to go ahead and take a break, let the players recuperate from their day of drafting, and then once we know our top 8, we'll jump back in the booth. We'll share it with you, and then it'll be time shortly after to get into the draft. So thank you all for hanging out today. Don't go anywhere, and we'll see you in just a little bit.